Hi, Pastor Nathan Deck with your hashtag Better Together devotion for today. And this week I've been talking about the story of Jonah. Sometimes when we look at the story of Jonah, someone will talk about God's will within the story of Jonah. And what about our own lives and God's interaction with us in our life? Does God literally have, a storm ready to blow us off course so that we get back on the right track? Does God really have big fish in our lives that are ready to swallow us whole so that we know which way we're supposed to go? In my own life and experience, I have found that my journey with God is a journey with God, the co author of my life, not necessarily the writer who's predetermined, predestined, and pre wrote the whole story. Instead, God journeys with me in this, in the same way that God journeyed with Jonah. Now, there were places where God gave what I call holy nudges. I've experienced those in my own life. Places where I thought I was going in the right direction, and I felt the nudge to go in a different direction. And maybe I was a little stubborn, and I felt another nudge to go in a different direction. And finally, my stubbornness gave way to God's will. You see, God wills the best for us, but that doesn't mean that there's one path. There's one job, one calling, one career that we have to go find and struggle and have anxiety about. Did I choose correctly? God doesn't pick one person out of all the other human beings on earth that we're destined, predetermined, and star-crossed to be loving and marry. That's not how God works. God works mysteriously within the choices you and I make. And there are a variety of paths, a whole bunch of different ways that we have that are options that God says, hey, I would love for you to choose one of these. Likewise, there's the other part of the spectrum. There's a whole lot of paths that God would say, I really don't want you to go down those paths. I really don't. Is God going to abandon us? No. But God would rather not see us take some paths in our life. God nudges us to holy, to be different, to be sanctified, to be made more like Jesus. In the choices that we make, we should take time to prayerfully discern, to think about these things. We shouldn't rush. And more than that, we shouldn't fret and worry and look backwards and assume that we chose wrong somehow and we're going to get punished. That's not how God works. God gives holy nudges. But God desires more than anything for us to grow and learn, just like Jonah did, through life and death and resurrection, of a new way of being, a new understanding to follow God's will within the vastness of what that means, rather than trying to write the book on our own. Let us invite God to be a co-author and find that our lives are better together because of it.